G'day guys, James here. I'm going to run a match preview for the finals games this year. Hoping it's a bit of an insight, helps with some tipping or some betting if you'd like. So we'll get it started with Friday night game. Hawthorn versus Geelong at the MCG, 7:50. Now, this is going to be a huge match, absolutely massive match between these two teams. I'll start by looking at the ins and outs for each team. So there are some huge ins on this game. For Hawthorn, you've got Stratton, Hill and Hodge coming back in. For Showmakers, Hartung and Litherland that have all been omitted from that Hawthorn team. So a very, very strong team coming in. Still no Cyril Rioli, not sure we'll see him for the rest of the year. We'll wait and see, won't we? Right, now for the Geelong, another couple of huge ins. Stephen Motlop, Hamish McIntosh and Stephen Johnson, or Stevie J. Now, Stevie J's still got injury cloud over his head, so maybe a late withdrawal, but we can't say that for certainty. We'll have to wait until 7:50 to see whether he plays or not. They're in for Billy Smets, Lincoln McCarthy and Mitch Brown that have all been omitted. So there's some big ins and not so big outs, but it should be a cracker of a game. Alright, now I'll start with saying who I think would be the emergency for the game. So looking at both teams over and looking at them hard, for Hawthorn, I would probably say Taylor Duray will start as the substitute for Hawthorn. And for Geelong, I would say it's either going to be Jackson Thurlow or Josh Walker, maybe George Holland-Smith. It's a bit harder for Geelong, but I would say Jackson Thurlow may start as the sub there. Alright, now, you look at the previous games this season between Geelong and Hawthorn. The first game, round 5, you had Geelong, well, you can't say walk all over, but defeating Hawthorn in round 5. So that was when both teams were basically, start of the season, getting used to it. They had a good game, Geelong did, over Hawthorn. And round 22, a couple of weeks ago, I don't think you can read too much into this game, honestly, with Hawthorn running over the top of Geelong after the brilliant first start by Geelong to beat them 94-71. Now, Chris Scott did say after this game it was a success, and I agree with him. What Geelong have done, they've gone out hard and they've started really hard against Hawthorn, and they've seen how they will react. So Geelong know that they can get off to a fast start, and now they would have had a look at that vision and seen how Hawthorn reacted to that fast start. So sit back, rest your stars. I know Geelong said they weren't going to do it, but they just sat back a little bit, it seemed, and just to see how Hawthorn reacted to that fast start, see how they would. So they're in prime position to have a look at this game, and if they do get that fast start, they can shut down that fast finishing Hawthorn. Alright, so that's the start of it. Alright, now some key matchups. Now, I'm going to start with one that's been all over the news, all over the media, Tom Hawkins versus Brian Lake. Now, Tom Hawkins is leading the league in contested marks with 50 this year, and Geelong are the number one contested marks in forward 50 in the AFL this year, and it's largely thanks to Tom Hawkins. Now, he gets a lot of attention from key backmen, but he is such a great contested mark that I don't think Brian Lake can get him in the air. Brian Lake can body him. He's got a big body. He's not the tallest bloke on the pitch. He's not the best spoiler on the pitch, but he's got the body for it. So he'll go in and he'll body Tom Hawkins hard. But I don't think that's going to be enough. The key for Hawthorn to get on top of Tom Hawkins is to have Josh Gibson, that floating backman, which he does really well. Because Gibson probably can't body Tom Hawkins as much for that overhead mark, but he can get the spoil in. So he'll be drifting across from the side and putting a ton of spoils in tonight. I can see it happening. They might leave Josh Gibson down there by himself without an opponent just so he can do that, because that's going to be a big key about who wins and who loses. Second key matchup, I don't have individuals here, but it's going to be the midfield versus the midfield. The midfield of Selwood, Kelly, Caddy, and to an extent Stevie J versus Hodge, Hale, Burgoyne, Mitchell, and who did I miss? Of course, Jordan Lewis. So that's going to be a big game. So it basically, in my eyes, Joel Selwood versus Sam Mitchell. As in, chances are Jordan Lewis will cop the tag, which we're all basically expecting. So And Stevie J may cop a tag for Geelong. But I'm going to see it as the Joel Selwood versus Sam Mitchell game. Whoever can get the hands on the ball the most, whoever can deliver best out of those two, will have the best chance of winning this game. And the ruck battle between Hamish McIntosh and David Howell, that's an epic. They are two great ruckmen of our game, and they're going to be head-to-head. You can't separate those two. They're both the same style player. They're both, can both rest forward. Hamish McIntosh probably doesn't have the K's in his legs, though. So I reckon David Howell can run forward, and he can really, really take advantage of Hamish McIntosh's attacking side, because I have seen behind the view vision from the Geelong Football Club of Hamish McIntosh and how he doesn't press back hard enough, and that's going to really hurt Geelong's defence if Hamish McIntosh doesn't play defensive minded. So that's where I think Hawthorn can get a bit of an edge on Geelong, is that ruck battle and David Hale pushing forward. And remember, they do have John Segler sitting in the rucks as well, who can do the exact same thing. So Geelong may be struggling a bit in the ruck, but we'll wait and see, won't we? Right, and then we'll look at the forward line of Hawthorn versus the back line of Geelong. I can't label one out because Hawthorn have 3 players kicked over 50 this year. So Jared Roughhead, full forward. Right, and then you got Jack Gunston and Luke Bruce. So they're all brilliant forwards. I don't know why they've named Max Spanger off the half forward line. I don't think he should be playing in the half forward line. But they've named him there. He probably won't play there. But then they're going up against players like Tom Lonergan, Harry Taylor, Andrew Mackie, and Corey Enright. Now, I really rate that Geelong backline. Tom Lonergan on Jared Roughhead. The only problem is Jared Roughhead's such a rounded football player. He can do almost anything he wants on that footy field. He can play in the ruck. He can play as a rover in the midfield. He can play as a tall forward. He can play as a short forward. So when he's playing as that full forward traditional role, Tom Lonergan will go to him. No doubt about it. Now, the Corey Enright, Harry Taylor, Andrew Mackie. Chances are 2 of those 3, probably be Corey Enright and Harry Taylor, will go to Jack Gunston and Luke Bruce. And they'll probably leave Corey Enright, because Hawthorn, their whole team, they don't really have a set centre-half forward. So I reckon they'll leave Andrew Mackie to drift across that half-back line and do what he does best. And those 3 do it brilliantly together. So it's going to be a really tough contest. And then you look at your wings. So Cam Guthrie will probably go to Jordan Lewis. Jimmy Bartell run off the half-back line, run through the wing, through the midfield, easy enough. But Hawthorn have the pace on the wings. They've got Bradley Hill and Isaac Smith sitting on the wings. So in pace-wise, Hawthorn look on top. So it's going to be a very, very good game tonight. My predictions, alright, I think that Geelong will win. I think that because of how they performed in round 22, even though they lost, I think round 22 was better for Geelong than it was for Hawthorn. Playing at the MCG isn't a huge advantage for Hawthorn because Geelong play there so much as well. So that's nullified, I would say. I say Geelong took more out of round 22 than Hawthorn did because Geelong did get the fast start and they got to see how Hawthorn would battle back. When Hawthorn saw Geelong get the fast start and they had to battle back, but with not much resistance. So with that added resistance of Geelong knowing how Hawthorn are going to battle back, I think Geelong are better positioned to win this game. I will tip Geelong by 12 points to beat Hawthorn and move and have the week off, which would mean that Hawthorn will have to play next week. That's my personal opinion. Agree or disagree? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Watch the rest of my videos, doing wrap-ups on everyone, and I'll be doing a preview for all the finals this year. Nice talk to you. I'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.